The seat in the front, a story of silence, power, and the right to belong. Most kids forget their first ride on a new school bus. For Layla Whitaker, it became the kind of memory that carves itself into the back of your mind, sharp and permanent. It was a cold Monday in early February, one of those Indiana mornings where the sky looked like an unmade bed, gray and unsettled. She stood at the edge of the driveway, hoodie pulled over her braids, earbuds in, pretending the wind didn't bite at her cheeks. She wasn't nervous, or at least that's what she kept repeating to herself like a chant. But deep down, she knew the world behind those tinted school bus windows wasn't ready for her, and maybe, just maybe, she wasn't quite ready for it either. When the bus finally groaned to a stop, its exhaust curling around her like a sigh, the driver didn't look at her. Not a glance, not a nod. He just popped the doors open like he was annoyed at having to do it. Layla climbed the steps, the rubber treads squeaking under her sneakers. Inside, the bus was loud music leaking from headphones, conversations about TikTok videos, sports, and lunch trades, but as she stepped in, that noise dipped. Not to silence, but that odd fake quiet where mouths stay shut, but eyes grow louder. She walked slowly down the aisle, the kind of slow that stretches time. No one shifted to make space. No one smiled. She spotted an open seat near the front and dropped into it, pulling her backpack on her lap like armor. A girl in the back snorted. A boy near the middle muttered something under his breath. Layla didn't catch the words, but the tone? That tone she knew too well, half mockery, half curiosity. Like she was a question no one wanted answered. Don't let them see you flinch, her grandmother used to say. Let them guess what's behind the eyes. That's where your power is. She kept her face blank, even as her ears remained wide open. It wasn't her first time being the new girl. Milwaukee, St. Louis, now Carmel, Indiana. Her mom's nursing job moved them often, chasing better pay, safer neighborhoods. But something about this place felt different, more polished, more scrutinizing, more white. There were no cousins here, no aunties down the street, no old friends who knew her laugh. It was just her. What they didn't know, what none of them could tell from her quiet hoodie and calm eyes, was that Layla Whitaker had grown up in a boxing ring. Her father, James Brick Whitaker, had been a light heavyweight fighter on the amateur circuit, never famous, but local legend. He died when she was 10, but before he passed, he left her a gift. Not fists, not anger, but a blueprint for how to stand when the world wanted you to sit. Control is everything, he once told her, wrapping her little hands in gloves too big. You don't punch to prove a point. You punch to reclaim space. She didn't punch that morning. She just stared out the window and reminded herself of who she was. Let them whisper. Let them watch. She wasn't about to give a bus full of strangers the power to define her. But someone else had already decided. The next morning, same bus, same route. Layla boarded, same calm steps. This time, Logan Penner noticed her. He sat in the middle of the bus, surrounded by his loyal Orbit Trevor with the gum, Tyler with the braces, and Nate, the silent nodder who never said much but never looked away either. As she passed, Logan stuck out his boot. Not enough to trip her, just enough for her shin to graze the edge. She didn't stumble, didn't even glance down, but she knew. Hey, Logan called, loud enough for the whole bus to hear. Front seats are for actual students. You sure you belong up there? Laughter didn't come immediately. Even his crew looked uncertain. But Logan smiled like he was doing the world a favor, enforcing some unwritten law. Layla stopped, turned, looked him in the eye with the steadiness of someone raised in silence and sweat. I'm fine where I am. 3 beats of tension. Then Trevor giggled. Tyler followed. Nate didn't say a word, just looked out the window like he'd forgotten how. Logan leaned back, king of his self-declared empire. You must be new, he said. People from here? They know how it works. Layla raised an eyebrow. Yeah? How's it work? You stick with your kind. Stay in your place. It wasn't hidden. Wasn't subtle. It was racist, point blank, straight from the mouth of someone who had never been told no. And the bus driver just kept driving. Same tired eyes, same coffee stain on his polo. She turned, walked to her seat, sat down. Didn't shout. Didn't cry. That silence? Logan took it for weakness. It wasn't. It was power. But power is threatening to people who build their worth on fear. That week, Logan escalated. Passive comments turned into direct shots. Smells like Section 8 in here. But she doesn't even pay for lunch. Must be some new diversity program. Layla didn't respond. She held her space. She wrote in her notebook. She let the stares slide off her like water on wax. But inside, she was calculating, measuring, waiting. Friday, Logan stepped it up again. As she walked past, he tripped her for Rayal. Her binder fell. Pages scattered. Oops, he said, smirking. She knelt, gathered them. Stood. Locked eyes. Didn't see you either, she said, calm as still water. That weekend, Layla didn't sleep much. She woke early Saturday, pulled her gloves from the garage peg, and met her father in spirit. The punching bag still hung in the corner, duct-taped and cracked. She hit with purpose, rhythm, breath. Her fists didn't swing to hurt, they swung to mean it. By Monday, something inside her had realigned. When she stepped on the bus, Logan stood. Blocked the aisle. That seat's taken, he growled. Layla looked him over. By who? Someone who deserves it. Not you. She didn't raise her voice. I'm not moving. Gasps. Shifts. A breathless "oh" from the back. Logan shoved her. It was slight, but intentional. A move to provoke. A show. She dropped her bag, planted her feet. Then, with the precision of every round she ever sparred, she slipped to the side and landed a clean hook to his ribcage. Not enough to drop him, but enough to shake him. That's a warning, she said quietly. Next time, I won't hold back. The bus fell dead silent. Even the driver turned around. Logan collapsed into his seat, clutching his side. No words. Layla sat in her spot. Calm. Unshaken. A small storm in denim and braids. By second period, the story had flown through the school like wildfire. Logan skipped class. Claimed he was jumped. Layla was sent to the office. The principal missed her. Everly wasn't cruel, but he didn't get it either. I'm not saying you're wrong, he told her, but violence is never the answer. Unless it's the only thing they hear, she replied, without flinching. One day in school suspension. That was the verdict. At home, her mom didn't scold her. You didn't start it, she said softly over dinner. But you finished it, just like your father would have. Layla nodded. Silent. Scene. The next day, the bus was quiet. Logan was gone, but something had changed. Not just the silence. Respect. A girl named Avery sat next to her. Quiet artist type. She leaned in and said, You were right to hit him. He's been doing that to people for years. Others followed. A boy opened the door for her. Another offered to carry her bag. Liam, a quiet one, in Logan's group approached after class. I should have said something, he admitted. You still can, she said. Next time. By Friday, Layla walked taller. Not because she threw a punch, but because she didn't let her identity be decided for her. She'd reminded them all that silence isn't surrender. It's preparation. And when the moment comes, it speaks louder than any insult ever could. The ripple from the front seat, Layla's story continues. Monday came again, but this time, the sky over Carmel, Indiana, was lit with spring light instead of February gray. Layla Whitaker walked to the bus stop like always head high, backpack firm against her shoulders, but everything around her felt softer. Neighbors who once peered through blinds now offered nods. A dad walking his dog across the street raised a hand in greeting. He hadn't spoken to her since she moved in. Even the wind didn't bite as hard. When the bus pulled up, the door hissed open, and for the first time, the driver looked at her. Just a glance. But it meant something. She stepped onto the bus. Logan wasn't there. Not yet. Maybe not again. No one stood to block her path. She slid into her usual seat near the front and looked out the window, the same calm expression masking the thoughts dancing behind her eyes. But this day, this chapter wouldn't be like the ones before, because silence has echoes, and Layla's silence had woken something. By third period, the whispers were no longer just about the fight. They were about her, the girl who didn't flinch, the girl who hit back with a fighter's grace. The girl who didn't yell but still shattered something deep in the school status quo. Later that afternoon, as Layla sat in the library with her notebook open a mess, China guidance counselor walked in and gently sat across from her. "I heard about what happened," she said, soft but firm. Layla looked up, cautious. "MS." Chin didn't wear judgment in her voice. Just concern. Respect, even. "I want to start something. A safe space. For girls. Especially girls of color. To talk. To support each other. You don't have to lead it, but I think people would listen if you spoke." Layla blinked. "You think so?" MS. Chin smiled. "They already are." She didn't say yes. Not yet. But her fingers drummed the edge of her notebook with a rhythm that meant she was thinking. By the end of the week, Layla found a note slipped into her locker. "You don't know me, but I saw what happened. Thank you. I didn't think we were allowed to push back. Turns out we are." It wasn't signed. It didn't need to be. After school that day, Layla walked past the gym and paused. Inside, the wrestling team grunted and crashed on mats. Across the hall, the drama club was building a set. She kept going until she reached the far corridor where the janitor stored and used equipment. At the back of the closet, still boxed in dust, was an old freestanding punching bag long forgotten, out of place among the squeaky clean rows of lacrosse sticks and band uniforms. She smiled. Maybe this school didn't know it yet, but a quiet storm had moved in and it wasn't leaving. The following Monday, during morning announcements, Principal Everly made a surprise statement. "We're launching a new initiative called Project Front Seat, a platform led by students, for students, to challenge bullying, exclusion, and racial bias within our campus culture." Layla's name wasn't mentioned, but everyone knew where it started. That afternoon, MS. Chin caught up with her near the vending machines. "You ready to speak at the first meeting?" Layla hesitated. Speaking wasn't her strength. Not in front of people. Not under spotlight. But then she remembered Logan's shove. She remembered every silent stare. Every snicker. Every tight-lipped adult who chose convenience over confrontation. And she remembered her father's voice. "You don't speak to win. You speak to remind them you belong." "Yeah," Layla said quietly. "I'm ready." That Thursday after school, the first meeting of Project Front Seat was held in the art room. Folding chairs. An unplugged mic. No cameras. Just raw, uncomfortable honesty. Avery came. So did Liam. And a girl named Destiny with purple box braids who confessed that she'd skipped class for 2 weeks because she couldn't stand how one of her teachers always mispronounced her name on purpose. Layla listened. Really listened. And when it was her turn to speak, she stood slowly. "I didn't hit Logan because I'm violent," she began. "I hit him because I've been hit 100 times before, just not with hands. Words can bruise too. So can stares. So can silence." Someone whispered, "Damn," under their breath. "I don't want to be remembered for a punch. I want to be remembered for not backing down." By the time she finished, the room was still. A girl near the back wiped her cheek with her sleeve. Weeks passed. Logan returned to school. He was quieter. His crew had fractured. Trevor avoided eye contact. Tyler stopped laughing so loudly. Only Nate offered a weak smile when their eyes met in the hallway, and even that faded quickly. Layla didn't gloat. That wasn't her way. But she noticed how the school was changing. One morning, the bus driver actually said good morning. Kids stopped moving their backpacks when she walked by. Teachers started calling on her in class not as a statement, but because they finally saw her. A real student. In the right seat. One Friday, Principal Everly called her into his office again. "I was wrong," he admitted. "Back then, when I gave you that suspension, I want to maintain order. But I ignored justice." Layla tilted her head. "You still did your job. I could have done it better." That afternoon, as she walked through the school courtyard, a banner hung above the student center doors caught her eye. "You don't have to be loud to be heard." It was the slogan for Project Front Seat. They were printing T-shirts next week. Layla smiled. At home, her mom poured 2 glasses of lemonade and joined her on the porch swing. "You seem lighter," her mom said. "I feel seen," Layla replied. "You've always been seen. Now, they're just catching up." They sat in silence for a while, watching the neighborhood kids ride past on scooters. Nobody stared at Layla anymore. One even waved. When the wind picked up and the first signs of summer rustled through the leaves, her mom looked over. "You know," she said softly, "your father would have loved this version of you." Layla didn't reply. She just closed her eyes and let the quiet wrap around her like a victory.